Hey kids, Jimmy Smith back to own my picks. UFC on ABC6, Whitaker versus Aleksandar. A little late because I was in Dublin calling Bellator this weekend. Flew back really late Sunday, or really Monday morning actually, and then worked, and then here I am recording for you guys. So that's why it wasn't on Monday. I was traveling really difficult. I'm traveling again this week for Pro Box TV. I'm in Washington, D.C. for a Pro Box fight. It's going to be really good on Friday. Check it out on Pro Box TV. It's going to be a world title fight at 130 pounds. Anyway, if you like boxing, check it out. So that's why it's a little late. So UFC on ABC6, Whitaker versus Aleksandar. The card changed a little bit. So when I did it, Cheryl wasn't on the main card. It wasn't listed on the main card on the UFC's website. It was instead Nasrat, Hakkaras, and Jared Gordon. So they flip-flopped. Anyway, so let's start out with Nasrat Hakkaras versus Jared Gordon. Split decision win for Nasrat Hakkaras. I saw my original video. You saw it, that Hakkaras was like a 2.5 to 1 favorite. Really favorite. I didn't see that. I said, man, Jared Gordon really worth the bet as an underdog in this fight. So I was right, but I was wrong. Jared Gordon ended up losing the fight. A lot of people disagreed with it. The problem to me, I thought Jared Gordon won it, but I picked him, so I might be a little biased. Let me know what you're saying, what you think in the comments section. But Jared Gordon gave a lot in round number 2 to finish the fight. Almost did it. Was all over Nasrat Hakkaras. In round number 3, although he outlanded Hakkaras, they were really winging arm punches. He really seemed exhausted. Was reaching for a lot of takedowns he didn't get. I think he looked a little tired. He was landing well. He actually outlanded Hakkaras in round number 3 in significant strikes by like 13 punches. But they didn't look good. They were really sloppy punches because he seemed really tired. So the judges gave it to Nasrat Hakkaras. But once again, a 2.5 favorite. I thought Jared Gordon was a really good bet at those odds. Came up short. I disagreed, but you saw the logic in me picking Jared Gordon for that one. So on to what ended up being the main card. Volkan Oezir versus Johnny Walker. I called it for Volkan Oezir. Ta-da! He wins it. Johnny Walker just hasn't developed at all. When he first came out onto the scene, we thought maybe with his build and his explosiveness and his weird timing, he could get something done at the elite level. And the problem is, certain guys, they plateau right when they shouldn't. Right when it's okay, you're starting to get taken on better guys, you got to develop this, and that. And you see the same funky, crazy style that you saw the whole time. There's football, then there's playoff football, and you got to be ready for that step up. And Johnny Walker just looks the same every time, where, as I said when I broke it down, he can win, he can knock you out, or he can completely self-destruct and look terrible. And that inconsistency has dogged him his entire career, especially at the elite level. So the thing that kind of is hilarious to me is he's a tall guy who's never learned to keep people at distance. We'll get to Volkov in a minute. But he's really tall, doesn't use the jab effectively, doesn't use the lead foot effectively, has really basic footwork at best. Jesus, you're so much taller than everybody. Keep the stick in their face, learn to move around, and you'll beat 9 out of 10 guys. Especially, those good mid-level guys, which Volkan Oezir is. He's not a title contender right now, but, he's a good mid-level guy. Fought for a title against DC, for those who don't remember. Just angle and move, and you'll beat most guys, and he just never learned to do those things. He lets people right into his chest, right inside. He gets eaten up. And Volkan Oezir, his nickname's No Time. Yes, as I pointed out in the video that I made my picks, he has gone decision recently against better guys, but still, he's a mean puncher, and it tends to be aggressive early, or at least test the waters early to see if he can hurt you. He tested the waters, found out they were great, jumped right in, and Johnny Walker got crushed. Knocked out in the first round, whatever it was, 2 minutes, 28 seconds. Halfway through round number 1, he just gets starched, and Oezir does this. No time. It's what I do. So Johnny Walker is just plateaued in a way that we see what we're going to get. He can still have entertaining fights. He can still be fun. Maybe pulls out the occasional great knockout. He doesn't have the consistency and maybe the work ethic, because he hasn't really improved that much, to be elite. And so Oezir crushes him. Oezir, once again, one of the better guys at the mid-level. Could he work his way back into contendership? Maybe. It'd be a long road. And there are tough guys up there, but still, great win for Volkan Oezir. Johnny Walker just not really capable, I think, of success at this level. Cheryl versus Antonio Trocoli. Didn't call this one because it wasn't on the main card when I made my picks, but I got a comment on it. Cheryl, I just don't see anything special in this guy. I know he looks cool, and, the red beard and the one eye and all this stuff, and it looks great. One of the things I look for guys who want to make it to the elite level, how hittable are you? Because as you move up, guys get trickier, they get better, they get more technical, they get slicker, and they hit harder. And if you are getting hit at the mid-level pretty easily, when you get to the elite level, champions, former champions, and once again, we'll get into Robert Whitaker in a minute, those guys are going to floor you. And the first thing I noticed in the first minute of this fight, Trincoli walks up and hits him with 2 clean right hands. Boom, boom. All right, somebody else, Paulo Costa, is going to knock your head off with those shots. Right? I'm not saying Paulo Costa was great, but the guy can hit. You're going to take on better hitters who are just, if you're hittable now, you're not going to make it out of the mid-level. Same problem I have with Paddy Pimblett, where, Paddy's the next big thing. And when he came out, I was like, dude, he's too hittable. He's just, those better guys are going to hit him a lot harder and they're going to knock him out. So he's got a loose kind of style. His hands are way out here, throws a lot of leg kicks and dancing in and out and all this stuff. And I go, God, I don't know, man. Unless you make some big adjustments, I don't see you getting past those tough mid-level guys. Like what you said about Volkan Oezir. He's a tough mid-level guy. Dude can crack, and you just can't allow that to happen. You have to get through the mid-level, and especially you're on the way up the regional level, pretty clean. Right? You can't take a lot of punches on the way up because you're going to take a lot at the elite level, period, no matter how good you are. And I just saw somebody in Cheryl Bullet who I went, okay, he's getting hit. Yeah, he's good offensively. That's not going to get you through the elite. And even offensively, I didn't see, oh my God, unbelievable offense. He's fun, throws a lot of funky kicks. I didn't see what I've seen in previous elite level guys where I was like, oh man, his offense is really putting it together and he's really seeing everything. Great awareness and great timing. It's good, but not great. Not great enough to get him past the mid-level. So the guy's getting a lot of attention. Obviously, he's a lot of fun, but he's got to clean some things up to be competitive at the elite level of the middleweight division, which has always been a striker's division. It's never been like 170 is a wrestler's division. There have been great strikers at 170, but the great wrestlers all around 170 pounds. 185 has always been a striker's division, well-rounded, tough striker's division. So it isn't that you're going to run into guys that Bo Nickal's kind of an exception, right? Elite level wrestler in this weight class. You're going to run into the much more Anderson Silva's and Israel Adesanya's and those kind of guys tend to rule 185 pounds. So the problem is he's really hittable, and his offense, while flashy and fun, isn't superb. I just don't see a lot in this guy that makes me think, wow, he's going to be the next big thing. So fun, he did get a win. I do see bumps in the road for him for sure. Kelvin Gastelum, Daniel Rodriguez. Once again, Kelvin Gastelum was a huge favorite in this one. I said, hey, go with the odds against Daniel Rodriguez. Take the underdog here. Kelvin freaking missed weight, and they made it 185 pounds. I mean, how many days before it was? I think it was after I made my video, but significantly before the fight. And anyway, he freaking made it a middleweight fight, which changed everything. And not only is it plenty of people have piled it on, Bisping upset, Dana White upset, that I don't feel the need to pile it on myself. But they're all right. To be a professional, you got to make weight. It's like showing up to work on time. Just that's the first step is you show up to work on time, right? Then you get to work. Dude doesn't make weight. And not only that, he fought like he didn't make weight, right? He used that extra weight. He was thick. He was big. And when they would exchange, he hit harder and could take a better shot. Rodriguez hit him with some good punches, but, a natural middleweight can take a shot that a guy who dehydrates down to 170 can't take. And a lot of you might be thinking, well, they both weighed in 185 pounds. What's the problem? The way to explain to someone who's never had to make weight in this sense, it's like running a marathon, 26 miles. You get to mile 20, and behind you they suddenly go, we're just going to make this a 15-mile run. Okay, well, I just ran 20 miles. No, the guy behind me, he can only do 15, so we're going to make it at 15. Well, I ran the extra 5 miles that he didn't have to run. Rodriguez had been further along in the cut, was making the weight, and Gastelum pulls a plug on him. So he gets back to 185, but he was already doing the things you have to do late in camp to make 170 pounds when you're a big guy, which Rodriguez is. So he physically was already going through the struggle when Gastelum pulled the plug. Sure, they both went 25, but Gastelum got there this way. Rodriguez got there this way. He was going down to 170. Oh, man, I got to get up to 85 again, and you're not going to be the same at all. And you could see that in the fight. Gastelum just kind of bullied him, kind of pushed forward, went through his punches, was throwing heavier punches. Rodriguez was a nice full 170 who didn't have to cut weight versus a 185er, and it showed. And that's what bugs me about this fight. Now, I didn't see how the odds changed after he didn't make. They changed the weight class or whatever, because I recorded this a little bit early, my breakdown of it. So I was just really pissed watching this fight, because I thought Rodriguez did things that may have won him the fight if they had both made 170 pounds. But Gastelum, his future, what's he going to do at 85? I don't think he's going to do anything. Can't make 170. The way he fought, I don't think he beats standout 185ers. I don't know what he's doing, but didn't make weight. Very disappointing. But Rodriguez ends up losing. I thought for the odds, taking the underdog was a good idea. So Aleksandar Volkov and Sergey Pavlovich, I picked Pavlovich in this fight. What we saw, and Aleksandar Volkov wins by easy unanimous decision. What we saw in this fight, unfortunately, if you're a Pavlovich fan, is he's a limited heavyweight. He's just a big puncher that just waits forward and throws big strikes. World's full of those guys. And what we saw is Aleksandar Volkov is always going to use those lead tools, the jab and the front kick. Okay, he's going to use them very, very well. Why? Super tall, super rangy. Hits surprisingly hard, but he won this fight with his lead tools. Just those range-finding lead tools, cracking him in the face with the jab, eating up the lead leg with the lead kick. And there was never a moment where Pavlovich went, F it. Well, if you're getting hit with lead tools, meaning the front kick and the front jab, there has to be a moment where you go, okay, I'm going to eat a jab. I got to get in here. Do the Mike Tyson, move your head, and just know you're going to eat a couple jabs and just get in there and throw big punches. You can't walk through a nice straight power shot from Aleksandar Volkov. Dude can hit. But you can walk through a couple jabs. You can walk through the lead teep. I know it sucks, but it's a commitment I've had to make in sparring a million times, where dude's out jabbing, you just go, well, I can out right hand him, and you got to eat it. And Pavlovich, never hit that button, right? Number one. Number two, we saw that Pavlovich doesn't have a big toolkit. He just can't do a lot of stuff. So when he couldn't get past the jab, he was getting eaten up by the lead leg. The footwork wasn't there. The head movement wasn't there. The timing wasn't there. The parry, and all these things that you use to get around the lead weapons, Pavlovich just didn't have it. And I was watching this fight. I was reminded of, there's a great series called Legendary Nights. Please watch it on YouTube if you're a fight fan. I don't care if you're it's about boxing. I don't care if you're a boxing fan. If you're a fight fan, watch it. It's amazing. And there's one on Jerry Cooney versus Larry Holmes. And Larry Merchant, who's a longtime HBO analyst, said as the fight progressed, we started seeing that it was a complete professional, Larry Holmes, versus an incomplete professional in Jerry Cooney. That's what I saw in this fight. Similar thing. I'm like, Volkov's a complete striker and Pavlovich isn't. Also, no attempt at a takedown, no attempt at any Greco-Roman stuff, getting in there, clinching him up, because he's tall, but Pavlovich is going to have the power advantage inside, and we never saw, all right, double leg from the outside, and if he sprawls, maybe I lock him up and get something done. We didn't see that. We saw a complete striker versus an incomplete striker, and an incomplete heavyweight, period, meaning the takedown wasn't there either. So that's what we saw in Pavlovich, is he's big and he's strong. You want a cookie? All right, you're in the heavyweight division. A lot of them are big and strong, and you hit hard. Great. Tom Aspinall is a complete heavyweight, and we're seeing the difference between the elite, complete guys and Pavlovich, unfortunately, in this fight, is that we saw his limits when it's not working out his way. Main event, Robert Whitaker, Ikram Aliskerov. I picked Robert Whitaker in this fight. I thought at minus 150 he was a real value bet. Even before the fight, he was like minus 130. It went more Aliskerov's way, which I thought was insane. Why? Because he's a late notice guy. Aliskerov got short notice, supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev. So I thought in that long kind of fight that Robert Whitaker generally gets people in, your conditioning is going to betray you at a certain point. I don't care what you were getting ready for before. You weren't in a full camp for this fight and this guy. So Aliskerov, the only thing that surprised me is how fast it was. Robert Whitaker, if you saw my breakdown, is generally a guy who takes you into deep waters and drowns you. That's what he does. And in this fight, landed a good shot early. Aliskerov just started wobbling, and Whitaker, the veteran guy, is a good finisher, and it was all over him. So Luke Thomas said that Whitaker's performance showed that there are levels, guys who hold the belt or have held the belt, and then everybody else. 185 has always kind of been like that. And the problem with Whitaker is he just kind of like he's solidifying his place as the non-champ nobody can beat. Every now and then we get one. It used to be Rich Franklin at 185. It was John Fitch at 170. There's always, not always, but a lot of times there's a guy that you're like, he's fought for the title, hasn't won, meaning since he lost the title, right? Had a shot against Israel Adesanya. And, but nobody else can beat him. Matt Lindland at 85. Back in the day, like it was like, yeah, everybody lost to Matt Lindland, but nobody want to see Matt Lindland fight for the title again. Rulo Bustamante smoked him. So, once again, Robert Whitaker's that guy. He just is. He's just a bad fight for so many guys. He's so good. He's always prepared. Gas tank is great. Well-rounded former champion. Mentally focused. If he hangs around enough, he'll get another title shot. But, Father Time's undefeated. And so the battle right now is, can Whitaker keep beating these tough up-and-coming guys? Maybe, they put together the Shemaya fight again, and that happens. Can he keep winning enough? It's like, swimming against the tide, right? When Riptide really comes out, it's going to take you out. That's time. That's time. Time eventually gets you. You get tired and the tide takes you out. But he's swimming against it as hard as he can. Can he get that title shot before the time runs out? Because he looked good. Looked very, very good. But once again, take on a late notice guy. How many of those does he have in him before Father Time catches up with him? I've seen it happen a million times. Guy just doesn't get a title shot at the right time, and the division catches up with him. So we will see, but those are my picks. That's how it worked, and I will obviously break down the next one. Appreciate you guys.